Hello and welcome everyone to Truth Pick 911. I am Truth, and today we have to talk about the brave heroes of Operation Gideon, which, yes, I am an operative of, and how we are carrying on a proud American tradition of interceding in Central and South American countries. On May 3rd at 1700 hours, a group of mostly exiled Venezuelan army men and at least 2 American ex-military men launched a daytime amphibious invasion of Venezuela, just like the beginning of Saving Private Ryan. While the operation had a high chance of success, it ultimately failed due to a number of reasons, but it definitely was not from a lack of planning, lack of supplies and equipment, and definitely not petty infighting. In the end, Venezuela arrested dozens of men, at least 2 of whom are Americans, and killed 6 in what was probably a sweet gun battle on the high seas. This balls-to-the-walls invasion plan was the brainchild of 3-time Bronze Star winning Green Beret, 1-time Trump rally bodyguard, and entrepreneurial founder of Silver Corp, Jordan Gideon. Silver Corp, according to its first Instagram post, was founded to stop school shootings by placing veterans of Iraq and Afghanistan in classrooms. Another key player was Culver Alcala, leader of a group of Venezuelan army deserters, a patriot, and totally not in U.S. custody for drug trafficking charges. The men met at the Marriott Hotel in Colombia, where the important details were decided, like how much Silver Corp will be paid, just a meager sum of $212.9 million. Oh, there was some other stuff about like returning the country to democracy or some other lame liberal idea like that. People are incorrectly comparing this coup to the failed democratic liberal Bay of Pigs invasion. This is short-sighted, people. Individual Americans have long been invading South and Central American countries with small personal armies for profit and personal glory. In fact, this is an art that dates back to at least the 1850s. Men that were called to become filibusters were adventurers and all-around badasses that embodied the ideas of manifest destiny, which is the idea that Americans are better than everyone else and that Americans should rule over everyone. Still true to this day. And it's important to note that these men are not mercenaries. Nope, these men had decided that the territory that belonged to any other country that wasn't already American should become American. And they should join the Union as a slave state, and that this should be achieved through violence. Now the man Jordan is most likely unintentionally emulating is William Walker, a 3-time duelist with a 1 out of 3 win ratio, president of 3 different self-created countries. It was sometime around 1853 Walker dreamed up a colony on the U.S.-Mexican border that would act as a buffer zone to halt Indians entering America through Mexico. He first tried to go about this by asking Mexicans nicely. His idea was swiftly rejected, and that's when William knew he'd have to carve out his dream colony himself, and by force. He quickly gathered 45 men, mostly from the southern states, and set off to found his colony, his first presidency, in Mexico. After about 2 months, William realized his colony was just too big and consolidated his territory and founded the Republic of Sonora, his second presidency. The Republic quickly collapsed and William was forced to retreat back to America, where he was soon arrested for breaking the Neutrality Act of 1794, which is a lame liberal democratic law that makes it illegal for Americans to wage war against a country that America is at peace with. Where's the freedom in that? Fortunately, a jury acquitted him because they could see the awesomeness of his dreams of expanding America by adding more slave states. William soon found himself drumming up support for an invasion of Nicaragua, a possible site of a canal that would link the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. At the time, the only way to transport goods was by unloading them and transporting them by wagon. This process was overseen by a company called Accessory Transit Company, which was controlled by Cornelius Vanderbilt. Yes, that Vanderbilt. Exploiting the brutal civil war ravaging Nicaragua and to avoid breaking U.S. federal law again, Williams got a contract to fight on the side of the Democratic Party of Nicaragua and set sail from San Francisco with about 60 men. Williams' campaign was largely successful in taking complete control of the country by conquest, according to William and William alone, although he did allow his headquarters to be burnt down by a school teacher. William was quickly recognized as the president of Nicaragua by then-President Franklin Pierce, completing his hat trick of presidential titles. He also moved to reinstitute slavery pretty much immediately. William had 2 wealthy patrons who were subordinates of Vanderbilt, a C.K. Garrison and a Charles Morgan. Yes, that Charles Morgan. Together, Williams and his 2 patrons conspired to appropriate all of Vanderbilt's assets in Nicaragua. Unfortunately, this would lead to William's downfall, as Vanderbilt dispatched 2 henchmen to aid the alliance of Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Honduras, El Salvador, and Guatemala. The henchmen assisted in dismantling the supply lines that Williams needed. Williams could see that he could no longer win the war, and not being a sore loser, ordered the city of Grenada to be burnt to the ground. He then bravely surrendered to the U.S. Navy. Williams only stayed stateside long enough to write a book about his attempted conquest and reinstatement of slavery in another country, because he was soon called back to South America by white people for another conquest. After landing in Honduras, the birthplace of the Honda, Williams was taken into custody by the British Royal Navy. For reasons not fully understood, Williams was not returned to the United States but handed over to the Honduran government and quickly sentenced to death by firing squad. It's almost like he upset people or something. The genesis of Jordan's coup attempt was most likely born out of Trump's 2017 spitballed idea of invading Venezuela. Now, all of us forever Trumpers understand that Trump speaks in code and that you just know what he actually means whether or not he actually says it. Jordan clearly heard Trump's words, decoded them, and sprang into action. After providing security and for being inspired at a Venezuelan Live Aid concert in 2019, Jordan did the logistics and created a document that listed everything in operation to take control of a sovereign country with a standing army would need to be successful. We are talking 320 M4 rifles, a single lone rocket launcher, a few inflatable boats, and only $1 million in US cash. Oh, and a bunch of state-of-the-art night vision goggles, which all my viewers know is beyond integral to a successful daytime military operation. Fortunately, in what was most likely a misunderstanding of the core concepts of making America great again, leader of the Venezuelan opposition forces, Juan Guaido, cut contact with Jordan, leaving just him and the alleged drug trafficker Culver Alcala to carry out the coup. Soon after, a shipment of weapons, consumer-grade radios, 15 helmets, and the all-important night vision goggles were intercepted by Colombian authorities, who alerted the DEA, which led to Alcala assuming responsibility for the attempted coup, which was still yet to happen. He was quickly extradited to the United States on unrelated drug trafficking charges. In March, Jordan's fiberglass boat, which he had been entertaining his ex-Spec Ops friends on, was somehow badly damaged enough to require the emergency beacon to be activated. The authorities of Corral rescued the boat and returned it to Florida. However, due to the fake COVID-19 virus, Jordan was tragically blocked from any and all travel. This obviously hindered his noble and just operation of liberating the Venezuelan people and had nothing to do with the $15 million bounty on Nicolas Maduro's head. On March 1st, 2 days before the coup was to be executed, the fake AP News published an article outlining literally every detail of the plot. 2 days later, March 3rd, the coup was officially launched, complete with a tweet from Jordan to the president, which is how all clandestine operations in the age of Trump began. 2 boats were launched from hidden bases in Colombia. Both boats arrived in Venezuela, where they were apprehended almost immediately. A local fisherman, armed with only a pistol, was able to delay a boat full of would-be filibusters until authorities arrived. Among the captured equipment was a toy airsoft rifle, because sometimes you have to bring a fake rifle to a real coup. The total number of operatives captured, both American and Venezuelan, is expected to rise. However, 2 captured Americans are being made to say that this coup was attempted with full U.S. backing. The President, Secretary of State, and the Secretary of Defense have all denied involvement in the coup. However, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo is quoted as saying that if we'd been involved, it would have gone differently. We are expecting a tweet from the President shortly claiming full ownership for the coup.